Okay, let us go ahead and call the meeting to order. Stephanie?
Right, Mr. Whitman,
Here.
Ms. Maniac, here. Ms. Bianca, Ms. Gordon, Ms. Brown, here. Mr. Loverson,
Here.
Mr. Pongonis,
Here.
Ms. Riddler, here. This was like, we do have.
Great. Could you put the agenda on the screen for us? I think the next order of business is to announce the next meeting, and that is, what day would that be? That would be the May meeting, which is the May 20th in this room at 8:30. With that, can we swear to staff? Testify, do you raise your right hand? You swear and affirm that the truth that the statements you're about to give are the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and so say I do.
I do.
Thank you very much. And with that, you've done the board roll call. Let's do the overview of the hearing format.
Certainly. For each case, city staff will present a staff report and the application materials. The applicant will then come up and sit at the presenter table, be sworn in and asked to present the additional comments or materials. If we have any registered speakers, they will then be called up to approach the podium, be sworn in, and they will each be given 3 minutes to speak. And then after that, the commissioners will discuss the case and ask any questions if need be before taking action about it.
Thank you very much. Go ahead and review the, you've already done the 3 minutes. Okay, and can we have a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting, please? Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any questions, comments, additions, deletions? All those in favor say aye.
Okay.
Aye. Very good. With that, I think we're ready to go on with the first case, please.
Mr. Chairman, I will refuse this.
Okay, we have a recuse one, which is the statement.
Our first case is COA 25-00280 for 360 South 3rd Street, which is located at the southeast corner of South 3rd Street and East Mount Street, and is the former location of the United Way of Central Ohio. The applicant is seeking commission approval for the building's exterior lighting. The lighting plan includes a mix of surface-mounted fixtures and LED light strip, wall-mounted downlights, wall-mounted up-down lighting fixtures, and wall-mounted floodlights. The applicant was last before the commission at the January 2025 hearing, where demolition and new construction of the site were approved. The commission requests that the applicant return to the commission with their lighting plan at a future date. Submitted materials include a site plan, elevations, lighting details, and lighting cut sheets. The downtown design guidelines recommend that lighting should be creative, designed to complement and enhance architectural features, utilize high-quality materials, and minimize outlet. Proposed lighting plan is generally consistent with the downtown design guidelines. And here are the materials submitted by the applicant. You can see the elevations here where they have called out the light fixtures. You can see typical rendering of those fixtures on one of these sections. Here's the site plan showing that lighting is outside. Here, floor plans showing the lighting. And then here are the spec sheets for the pictures, and they have labeled on each of these spec sheets with corresponding pictures that you saw on the elevations. We've identified which specific ones they are picking. This is the fixture that's on the balconies. Here you can see it.
I'm sorry, could you speak up just a little? I'm having a hard time. Maybe just in the mic a little bit more.
Sure. So this fixture you can see here in the spec sheet is mounted downward. The applicant does have it mounted outward.
That's the balcony.
Yes, yes. So they are somewhat shielded by the recess, but just wanted to point that out. So the downlight fixture. Is a downlight fixture similar looking.
Are those parking lot fixtures things? Do you know which one it is?
We can ask our applicant to
Okay.
compare. That is instead of the materials, and then, you can see the rendering of the full things in the name.
Good. Would the applicants come up and join us, please? Good morning.
Morning.
Identify yourself for the record, please.
Yeah, good morning, members of the commission. My name is Anup Janardhanan with Moody Nolan.
My name is Rick Kroll, with Moody Nolan as well.
Could you raise your right hands? Do you swear to affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So say, I do.
I do.
I do.
Thank you very much. Okay. I don't know, we've kind of seen it. I don't know if you guys want to review first, or if you want to just see if there are any questions. Anybody?
I could start off with a question.
Sure.
I wondered if the lighting for the parking lot is included in the submittal. I didn't see plan for that. Maybe I missed it. And if so, could you explain what fixtures?
So I believe when we
My
submitted,
question, kind of this.
yeah, so I think when we submitted the original package for the building COA, that had the site lighting too included and parking, yes, yes. So so yeah, we do have pole lighting
And
fixture.
those are downward facing.
Yes, yes.
Okay, that's fine.
Could you show us which fixture that is on that last page there, just so we can put all that conversation?
And then I do think we had a little bit of conversation about that southwest corner where was there a little, do I remember there was kind of a green spot there, art area or terrace there. And we talked a little bit about like, solve that. It's been a couple of months, so. I think maybe that's an unfair question. That's.
There's no green space per se on the, ground level. It's mostly, we have parking, we have a generator that's back there. I don't know, maybe that was part of the conversation.
You see that site plan again for just a quick second, Stephanie?
The fifth floor does have a rooftop, patio area. But it wouldn't, it's not really a green area though either, but.
So what, yeah, okay, well, if you see along that very southwest corner there, what, the parking lot kind of runs onto the street there?
Yes, correct.
Okay, you have a tree and a place there, I guess.
Yeah, so they have the generator just south of the building.
Okay.
And then it's just kind of a green corner.
So the only lighting for that really is those poles in the parking lot.
Yes, that's
Correct,
correct.
You say they. You know, can we figure out what picture it is?
It's going to be similar to, let's go to the last page. Yeah, it's going to be similar to one of those.
So the upper left corner there is the lighting we're looking to use around the building in the back. So what we would then do is take that same design. So basically you can just drop down one.
To kind of match the wall mount?
Yes, with the
Correct.
pole is what that was our intent.
Okay, other questions? Is that, Jana, does that answer your thoughts?
Oh, I'm sorry, you had it in the packet and I
No
just
problem.
missed it.
Anybody else on anything? What's the pleasure of the group? There's a motion to approve. We'll get a second. Wait a second. Is there a second for this motion? Okay, so it's on the table. Go
I
ahead.
just had a few things. The W6, I think it's called the Grace Elite Power Core lighting that you're using on the, it looks like the fifth floor east elevation. Can you explain what that is for?
Oh, that is over the mural area. So we have a proposed mural area on that side. So the intent was for at night, have a little bit of lighting for that mural area. So that's what that is. Yeah, basically it's a wash on that, along that elevation.
Okay, so that'll be above the mural.
Yes, so it'll be down lighting.
Other questions? Comments, thoughts, anything from the audience? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
That is second by Ms. Brown.
Jeff. Okay, motion is approved. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, next case.
All right.
This will set the record.
Very well. Sorry. Said it right.
Probably looked at every sheet.
Oh, but it's,
The engineering stuff.
yeah. I don't know, I think I saw it, but I don't know.
Is there some, by the way, is there some, okay, just a second, we'll go ahead. Stephanie, you can have your statement. Trudy, good morning.
Good morning,
Nice to see you.
see everyone.
That's your convenience.
Our next case is COA 25-00086 for 1 Riverside Plaza. The project extends from West Nationwide Boulevard to the north along Hawking Street to the west to the river from the south, and is primarily focused along West Spring Street and West Long Street to 1 Riverside Plaza on the east. The applicant is requesting commission approval to demolish existing stormwater infrastructure in this area and replace with 2 new pump stations to increase conveyance capacity. New landscaping and improvements to the existing stormwater collection system upstream of the proposed pump stations as well. The applicant was last before the commission at the February 2025 hearing, where the commission continued the application to give the applicant time to respond to commissioner feedback. The applicant has since made updates to the landscaping surrounding the pump stations and also provided renderings of both pump stations. Submitted materials include existing condition photos, site plans, demolition plans, updated landscaping plans, elevations, sections, material specifications, and renderings of the pump stations. The downtown design guidelines state that a variety of regional facilities are supported to meet the needs of downtown, and that site location is important when determining appropriateness of height and design. The guidelines also recommend the use of high-quality materials and the inclusion of landscaping to complement the overall development. Regarding the proposed demolition, the downtown design guidelines state that a basement use should be reviewed and approved prior to issuing a certificate of approval for demolition. The commission should consider the condition of the existing stormwater management facility and whether or not the proposed improvements allow for new development, which in its opinion is of greater significance to the character of the surrounding area. Lastly, the guidelines encourage the inclusion of public art. The commission should discuss if opportunities exist to incorporate public art into the proposal. The proposal is generally consistent with the downtown design guidelines. We'll walk through the materials here. This is just an overall plan of the project. You can see the 2 pump station areas here. There's some details on the plantings proposed. This is the east pump station site plan. This is the restoration plan. Discharge and demo plan. The east landscaping plan, we'll go back to this. This is the west pump station proposed site plan and restoration plan for Spring Street. Hawking Street restoration plan, Long Street. The west discharge and demo restoration plan. West landscaping plan will come back so well. And then these have not changed since you saw the last thing. These are the elevations for the pump station buildings. East and west. We have our wall sections. Here is a zoomed in version of the east landscaping plan. Here's the rendering of that one. And this is the east one. West.
That's the west.
West, thank you. West, and then here's the east. And then these are the existing condition photos, and then these are just the specifications for the materials. Yeah. So we can go to any of that if you have specific questions. But with that, we can turn it over to our applicant.
Very much. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Could you identify yourself for the record, please?
Sure. Josh Brooks with MS Consultants. We're the design professional.
You raise your right hand and swear to affirm the testimony you're about to give. It's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And so say I do.
I do.
Thank you very much. Just to be clear, there's a lot of stuff on these drawings.
Yeah.
What we're really going to see is and I think today talk about is the stuff that is above the ground, right?
Yeah, I think,
We don't understand. We get into
yeah,
we followed this last call.
in February, yeah.
Okay, so I missed it because I was gone. I had not.
Good. I think the most important thing to go over would be the renderings. I think that's
Yeah,
what,
good.
you guys had questions on, the
Yeah,
landscaping, the
yeah.
fencing and the retaining wall.
It was really focused on last meeting.
How do we want to proceed? Do you want to comment or anybody want to ask a question?
I can talk about what's changed and what the feedback that we got last time was focused on the landscaping plan. We had a very elaborate landscaping plan.
Yeah,
And we were asked to kind of scale that back and focus more on natural plantings and screening. There's also when we met last time, there were some questions on, just looking at the drawings, it's tough to tell what it's actually going to look like. So we produced the renderings to kind of give you guys a better opportunity to see, what it's going to look like in the end, what our leave behind is going to be. So we had our architectural group and our building services group put together the renderings. So that's actually the materials, the plantings and everything that is on the drawings. So it's not, a graphic designer's interpretation. It's actually our architects and landscapers.
how tall are these buildings? I mean, was it tall there or is it a little bit deceiving because of the?
Well, it sits up on a hill.
It
It sits up on the hill. Yeah, we had to raise it to keep it above
Okay.
our finished floor is 3 feet above the base flood elevation,
And
the
what is
100-year.
retaining walls, and is that the split face block kind of thing?
It's actually well, that was one of the comments we got last time was we just had a cast in place concrete retaining wall. And the comment was, can we dress it up a little bit? So what the option we came up with was similar to like a stained and stamped concrete, like a patio. But it's within the forms, they can form it and yeah, so it looks more like a split face type retaining wall.
Yeah,
But
when I looked at the building, I guess my comment, and then everybody else had a chance to put forward a thought. My comment was, I don't know if we need that, whatever you call it, foundation area or the kind of water table. I wonder if it would just be always better if it were. My theory on these things is what they really kind of want to do is almost go away. I mean, we don't need to make a statement out of them, in my opinion. But they'd be better almost without that base, that concrete block base there, just brick. And go all the way down and do a kind of a dark brick that would get close to maybe matching what we got on that.
you talking about
Yeah,
on the elevations,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
The,
that's the area.
yeah, the intent of that, and a lot of that isn't really gonna be that viewable because it sits up high from the street. I guess you can kind of see it there. The intent was to match the architecture in North Bank Park, and that's the way those buildings are. So that was our intent behind
I
that.
looked at that last night, and I couldn't find it. But I guess still notwithstanding, I'd be inclined to just say it. Try to get the brick, a dark brick, they should match each other and maybe get as close, or even use the same brick they put on that North Bank building there.
Mhm.
And, again, that would be my opinion. That, and I don't know if anybody else has any other thought. Do we have a landscaping plan per se? Because it looked,
Yeah,
I see it there.
Yep.
Thoughts, comments?
I agree. I think keeping that building simple is better. I appreciate the work on the landscape. I think the only thing I worry about here, and I appreciate you guys simplifying the plant list a little bit. I think that's always a good idea. I worry that this is a little formal. It sort of looks like we've landscaped the house. And what I mean by that is, this landscape will need to be maintained as opposed to if you sort of, if it were naturalized or loosened up a little bit, so. I'm not gonna no vote it, but, you know, left to my own devices, I would make it look more natural. I would focus on big trees, less small shrubs, and try to make it look less like a landscaped front or backyard. I just worry that this will need maintenance over time, and that's sort of the simplest way I can say that.
Sure.
It's what we said last time. It may have been something like that, but everyone interprets these things a little bit.
It was, I mean, we had like flowering plants and things like that that would kind of draw attention to the site. And I took your comment as, let's keep it looking more natural with like, you know, shrubbery and trees rather than flowering.
Another thing to say is to take the Ohio State University's approach to those things, grass and trees. But again, these are challenging projects. I don't want to complicate your life. I worry that it's expanded to that wall.
I think there's going to use the emphasis on height and repairing.
Right, we're trying to soften that a little bit.
How tall is it?
Depends where you're at. That one there is about 6 feet.
Similar thought. Well, first of all, I appreciate what you've done with the retaining wall, and also I think last time you had the chain link fence.
Yes, we have absolutely updated the fence too.
Big.
And
Yeah.
think the renderings are most successful is where you have enough space to grade up a little bit,
Mhm.
grade it up and have some type of variation
Mhm.
with the aesthetic of the wall.
Yeah,
So wherever you have an opportunity to do that, maybe have a variation. And then with the plantings, if the plantings, you know, as you show it in the rendering, they all look very, like, you know, young, new, but over time they might grow and.
they will, yeah.
Like loosen up. But the other thought I have is maybe where the retaining wall meets the base of the fence, maybe there's an opportunity to route out like a planting bed there, you know, good soil, route out the top of that wall and maybe use that as a planting bed, and then maybe we could have vines coming out or some landscape there too, to soften that transition and then, you know, reduce that, you know, reduce the feeling of you've got that wall and then you've got a fence sitting on top.
Yeah,
There's a way to,
the fence is right now on top of the wall.
oh, okay, just like, right.
Yeah, like on it, yeah. So like,
You can maintain that.
Yeah, but maybe,
Yeah.
but just with the planting choices, like Jeff was saying, you know, maybe if some are tall and a little loosened up, then maybe you do get the same effect that the wall looks like it's not as, you know, monotonous and stark. Yeah, that you see the wall, but you also see the natural.
yeah,
What's the surface area inside the fence?
it's about 2,000 square feet.
I know, is that gonna be, what surface will it be?
Oh, mostly gravel up on top.
That's what I would thought.
Yeah.
Okay, well, questions, comments?
I think they responded to our comments from last time. So the water table thing might make the building seem a little less.
Okay,
I think it's.
When you say the water table thing,
so the foundation.
what he was talking, okay, yeah.
How tall is that wall elevation right there?
That's where it's gonna be the tallest because we had to be close enough to Spring Street for the equipment to be able to reach the wet well of the pump station. So that's about 7.5 feet.
Is that the east side?
Grades.
That's the west pump station.
Or still west?
That's looking from Spring Street
On the north side.
on the north side, correct?
Parking garage.
Yeah, it's by, there's a lot right next to the railroad tracks.
It's when we did the left turn, coming in begins.
Yeah.
Okay, well, any other comments? What's the pleasure of the group here?
Can we grab some trees around this side?
I don't know if we can, there was not a lot of room there.
6 feet.
I'd have to look at the site plan. Probably about 6 feet between the curb and the wall.
Trees around that thing.
We,
Well, shrubs are temporary, guys. They're gonna last 5 to 15 years. The trees are forever. That wall is forever. We plant trees there.
the problem we might run into is with sight distance for people
Okay.
making that left-hand turn. We can look, I can have our traffic people look at it.
Yeah, but I think that is a really heavily traveled area right there. I mean, I live right there. And what I see particularly during morning
At 5 o'clock.
and at 5 o'clock, yes, folks just, it's speedway. And I think trees will, the side of the line will be an issue, I think.
I hear you. The walls are bigger than line of sight issue.
We could,
Anyway, we can move on. I don't. We're,
Okay, so
if we're talking about a conditional approval such that, that water table is eliminated, we could also put a condition that they reach out to the city forester about trees on that elevation and let them provide an opinion on it if they say yes, or.
I'm not gonna pull it up. Let's go.
Okay.
I did have one real
Yeah.
quick comment.
Sure.
So the shrubs that you're placing here, the height of those, is that their full grown height? Or is that just showing like when they're first planted, what they look like?
I believe most of that's, I think the trees are a little bit bigger than what they would be when we first plant them. I think the shrubs are about what we would see when we plant them.
Maybe they're, if I really like Jeff's idea about the trees, but maybe for whatever reason it's not, you can't do it, maybe looking at other forms of vegetation that could give you like, the natural grasses and. putting
Like a fountain grass.
Variety of heights to soften that a little,
Okay.
because it's high traffic area and very prominent wall there.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the group with? Anybody want to make a motion? Okay, there's a motion to approve, that means approving us the way it's submitted, is that correct? Okay,
Second,
there's a second for that. Okay, any other questions, comments? Any comments from the audience? Anybody? Okay, we have a motion on the floor, I don't, anybody want to push any of these issues we've discussed?
With the water tank possibility.
Again, I hear one person say it's fine, and I don't know what everybody else thinks. If I were doing it, I'd probably have it go away, so I'm not going to dance much to it.
I think Jeff also felt that you felt too that it's better.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah.
But
I'm not going to fight over that. Jennifer has a big smile on her face.
I'm gonna do it, but stick.
Yeah, okay, so I guess that's issue doesn't have a lot of push behind it. So we do have a motion on the floor. Any other questions or comments, anything from the applicant?
No, I'm good.
It's just a beautiful work of art. Okay, all those in favor say aye. And those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. Thank you.
That was approved and submitted.
As submitted. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is just.
Accuse him here.
It's too bad it has to be way.
It's there instead of. What the?
Okay.
All right, the next case is COA 25-00262 for 475 North Wall Street, which will be the future location of the 31-story mixed-use merchant building that was approved by the Downtown Commission in 2021. The applicant is seeking commission approval for updates to the previously approved open-air courtyard on the north elevation. The changes include converting the open-air courtyard into a solarium with a retractable roof, modifications to the exterior fireplace, and then a material change on the north wall from that being open brick pattern to a glazed swing. The submission includes a site plan, renderings, material palettes, elevations, floor plans, roof plans, sections, perspectives, and previous approved design parameters. The downtown design guidelines recommend that the built environment continue to be enhanced and energized with new buildings and improvements in the public realm that promote good design, long-lasting construction, and attention to detail. The design guidelines also recommend the use of high-quality materials that are also durable. The proposal is consistent with the downtown design guidelines, and I did want to note that this is also subject to HRC review, and they did move this to staff, so they have already acted on it. And then here are the materials from our applicant. is the site plan, this is the area we're talking about from the north side. This is the previous design, and then you can see here some modifications to the fireplace, and you can see that retractable roof slightly behind, and where this was more open brick, you can see where that has been enclosed in storefront material. There's a larger version of that. Here is the material palette. And then we get into the technical design for this installed space.
And the only thing we're being asked to look at today is this section right around the fireplace, right?
Yes, and then this, basically they're enclosing this
Right.
space where it used to be open, and this roof is.
Now, okay, so that's right now, okay, and that is, okay, yeah, okay, good. Anything else?
No, this is, this last page is just for reference of what the previous approval was.
Great, is someone here for the applicant, please? Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Could you identify yourselves for the record, please?
Daniel Ayers with MBBJ.
And Beverly Eichenlaub with MVJ.
Very good. Would you raise your right hands? You swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. So say I do.
I do.
I
Thank you
do.
very much. Okay. Go ahead. If you want to just tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, well, I did bring the one material. It's very similar to other metal trims, but just the retractable roof itself has a metal trim that is this bronze
Is that same
anodized.
color then as the?
It's basically the same, yeah, and it's just called out in the package if you guys want to
Could
see
you
it.
hold the mic up to your mouth?
Sure.
So make sure everybody can hear.
Thanks for the reminder.
That's better.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, I think as was presented, the primary difference here from what was previously approved is that the entire space that was previously a courtyard that had sort of a roof around the perimeter of it and was open air, we now have included a retractable, transparent retractable roof over that entire space. And now it will be conditioned space so that it can be used year round. And so as part of that exercise, some sort of subtle formal changes happen to the fireplace, really just to make the geometries work better with the retractable roof geometry. And then again, similarly, because it was previously open air, it had a brick, kind of almost like a breeze block pattern. And now it will have a storefront, basically similar to what's happening adjacent at the expansion. So it's the same kind of product just being applied now in this location.
The last space was enclosed. Now, was it open to the public before or did it have fencing gates?
It had gates.
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah, the
See,
function
I think
hasn't
it's
changed.
Development close to a time and then just when it's inclement weather, get closed or.
I think that's the
That's the
idea.
goal. Yeah.
A similar question. So it looks like adjacent to the solarium, you have a cafe and a restaurant. And is there the way to enter those spaces? Is that you would have to go through the solarium only? Or are there other entrances in off of the street?
There are entrances from the street for those facilities.
But this is really a part of the hotel lobby, in fact.
It is. But it does have access from both of those spaces as well. Yeah.
And so materials, really the only material change you're making is just this metal that you're adding and obviously glass.
Sure. Yeah, it's the roof itself that.
Any
that-
questions, anybody, thoughts, comments?
Just on the, where you actually have the storefront, do you have good detail of that? In other words, is it divided lights? And if so, what does that look like? What is the profile of that?
I think that, I'm not sure if that's in this current set, but it's literally the same system that's been
Shown there.
approved and for use at the adjacent coffee shop. And yeah, so it's literally using the same product.
Divided light, same as Beverly said, to the other systems around it, so matching within that.
And the glazing is clear glazing?
Clear glaze, correct.
There's an elevation.
Any questions or comments? I mean, thoughts?
The retractable roof, is it 100% retractable or just a portion? Does it recess all the way back?
It does. It'll recess all the way back over a portion of roof. So when you're sitting in the space, it's out of the site.
There's a section there that might help that.
You mentioned a dark iron spot wood color. Where is that used? Is that the accent for the chimney or is that?
Yeah, that's previously approved for context, and that's actually at the adjacent restaurant.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so that's just part of your
Yeah.
larger.
What's the, any questions or comments from the audience? What's the pleasure of the group here?
Is the question we had, the planters that are in the front, were those, did you have those originally? So that's not changed. That was something that we originally had and we originally looked at and approved.
Yes, that's correct.
Questions, comments? What's anybody think there? Say again? Okay, we have a motion to approve. Can I have a second somewhere?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, motion is on the table. Yeah. Any questions or comments from anyone? Oh, just one quick question. You mentioned, kind of redoing the brick pattern on the fireplace. I doesn't affect my opinion. I think it's fine and easy, but what were you going to do on that? Just,
It's really more about the form of the fireplace being the form is slightly different.
Okay.
The form of it, you can see there, it's a little bit taller, the angles are a little bit different, and it's really about it relating better to that retractable roof.
yeah, right, makes sense. Questions, anything from the audience? Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Abstaining.
And one abstention, and then that is approved. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay, okay, very good.
Next case is COA 25-00210 or 211 South Fifth Street, which is located at the northwest corner of the intersection of South Fifth Street and East Ridge Street. The applicant is seeking commission approval to replace 41 simulated 6/6 white vinyl windows with 1/1 black vinyl windows, with new black shutters, as well as the main entrance door replaced with black finish aluminum double doors with transoms inside of it. The applicant is also proposing to paint the brick white. The submission includes the scope of work, the existing condition photos, and material specifications. The downtown design guidelines recommend adaptive reuse of buildings, the use of high-quality materials. The commission should discuss the quality of the windows proposed. The proposal is somewhat consistent with the downtown design guidelines. Here are the materials provided by our applicant. This is showing the existing door. This is what I'm putting right now. And these are the windows, with both colonial, 6/6 existing vinyl. Yeah, yes, we're going to replace, and then they're also going to replace each other. Here is the scope of work regarding windows, and then here is the specification for the proposed window. It's just a black 1/1, double on vinyl, and from darts. Sorry. And then here is the, I believe this is the door. Yes, this is the door quote. Here are the specs on the door. You can see the sound effects in the transom. Just more specifications here.
I should do this in blue shade.
Now, is that their elevation? That doesn't match one of them.
No, this is just an inspirational image of a white painted roof with black bunch. Yes, sir. Let's see, the new shading on this. That would probably be better question for our applicants.
Inspiration.
With that, we'll put it on to them.
Okay, could the applicants please come up? Good morning, could you identify yourself for the record, please?
Sure. My name is Alex Medvec. I'm one of the owners of Forward Health, who owns the 211 South Ridge Street or 200 East Ridge Street.
Great, could you speak into this mic up so we can hear you?
Sure. It's Alex Medvec of Forward Health. I'm one of the owners, and the address is 211 South Fifth Street or 200 East Fifth Street, or East Ridge Street. Sorry, there's two addresses for some reason.
Great, would you raise your right hand? You swear from the testimony God gives the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and so say I do.
I do.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead, you want to explain what you're looking for?
So,
please?
yeah, Stephanie did a great job. I mean, basically, we just want to update the building. The building, not only the exterior, but the interior hasn't been touched, I think, from maybe the early 80s. So, we want to kind of breathe some life into the building and use it as our corporate office. We currently are located in Groveport. So to that effect, we wanted to paint the exterior brick white and update with black windows, which is kind of the trend you see. I think the Aspire building that you showed earlier had all black windows, and numerous buildings within, not even a block of our location. I had pictures, all have all black windows as well. To be fair, we didn't know that this would trigger a downtown commission review. So we were kind of shooting from the hip, and that's why I sent Stephanie the inspirational image. We didn't have time to, get a digital rendering of everything done, so.
Well, I don't know if we have the details on here that, at least I would like to see. Building you've got shows, or the existing building has, for example, panels underneath the first floor windows.
Those would remain white, yeah.
Those would be, so they stay, in other words? but
Correct.
they-
Everything that Stephanie described is the only changes would be the windows would go from white to black. And
the shutters?
the shutters they'd be, like she mentioned, they'd be black as well. It's in the scope of work.
So you're going to keep the existing shutters?
We'd replace them or replace them with like for like, but just black to match. They're, believe right now, they're just wooden or maybe they might be vinyl. I don't know. I
Do you
didn't.
attempt to get the appropriate size so that the shutters are 1/2 the width of the?
Correct. We don't plan to change the design of the color scheme only.
I'm not sure they are, but, so I'm just asking whether you're planning on replacing or you're going to leave what's there.
If we can salvage, I mean, this is something we weren't too worried about. If we can salvage them and they're in good condition, we can paint them black, we would do so. If they are damaged beyond repair, then we would replace
How about columns and the pediment?
everything again.
Does that get painted? Is it painted black or is it painted white?
Again, what Stephanie said is we are only doing the windows and we're only doing the shutters in the front door. Everything else, the brick is white and everything that's currently white will be clean, repainted white. So the scope of work is not that detailed. It's very much just the windows and the shutters in the front door.
I have a little bit of a misgiving about not having an elevation just this time. This is a building that it kind of is what it is. But it could be not a bad building, but and it needs freshening. Sure. So I think I'm on your side on that one, but I get a little uneasy about, well, we might replace the shutters, but we might not, and then we're gonna do everything that's there is gonna get painted, all this kind of stuff. I don't know how specific, I'm hearing.
Well,
That's
all due respect, she clearly stated the scope of work as the windows, the shutters is black and the front door black. Everything else will be, the brick would painted white and everything that's currently white will be kept white. I mean, I don't know that this is a complicated project that needs an elevation to show. You kind of lost me on that.
I feel just like Steve on this. First of all, I appreciate what you're doing. I think there's a lot of potential here, to update and have a fresh look. But it's impossible, I mean, not impossible, but it's very difficult to approve it or to, see what the best choices are if we don't see an elevation study. So for instance, you want to do one window, but your inspirational picture shows, maybe it's a 6/6 or something. So until you do a rendering, you might not know yourself. Doesn't have to be fancy, but you might not know yourself or what looks balanced, what looks best. And, you have a corner, a pediment, I'm sorry, well, that remain white, how's that gonna look? So can't really judge it unless you have some type of simple color sketch or rendering or something like that. And I had requested through staff that be submitted when we came in today, even if it was something very simple, because I knew it would be hard for us to judge and to understand. So that's how I view. But I'm in support of what you're doing.
Sure.
What about the walls out in front? Do they get painted, Jim? I see a wall there.
Yeah, the short wall in front of the parking, all the brick would be white.
The fencing, I see.
Stays black.
Okay, other questions, comments?
I think that, improvements are like necessary, and it sounds like you're on board to do them. I have a question about the windows, and I guess why the choice to be like the 1/1 versus kind of the existing 6/6.
You mean as far as the grid pattern? We don't see a lot of grid patterns anymore. We can add the grid pattern, I guess, if it was needed, but we didn't care for it. To us, it didn't really matter. And a lot of the more updated modern buildings don't have the grid work.
Comments, thoughts?
One other thing, just similar to Jennifer asking the question, I think when you do a sketch, you'll be able to determine to upgrade this to the best of your ability. Do you want the shutters? Maybe you don't want the shutters, maybe you want, the divided lights, like your inspiration photograph. Or, maybe you do want the shutters with the 1/1, or maybe you do want the divided lights. And I think that would be important for you to study what might be.
We already decided, and the reason we would paint them black is to add some balance and to match the windows and the doors, because if everything is white, it doesn't really, it's not very interesting. I think having a little bit of black details really pops it. And, the sketch would be solely for your review. I mean, we've decided what we want to do, and we were moving full steam ahead until we bumped into the fact that I didn't see that this was I knew it wasn't an historic area, but I didn't realize the downtown commission had to weigh in on this. So we were chugging along with our plans until our contractor came back and said, we have to get this approved. So again, if this is something you need for your decision, that's perfectly acceptable, but my background is 20 years of design work and architecture as a contractor myself. So, I've done this before on residential properties. It's a very nice updated look, which is what we're hoping to do.
Okay, questions, comments?
Well, I guess let's just try to assist the applicant here. So for the architect sitting up here, is it appropriate or inappropriate to paint the brick white?
That's a loaded question. It's the trend right now. And it's more and more important building. Actually, I have a different opinion about it.
But it's not truly historic building.
No.
Right? This is sort of
I don't think it could get more.
On here, 1778.
so it sounds like it's appropriate to paint it. Is it, so then to the windows, is the window grid, is that historically important to this building or not?
I think it is. You know, I could live with the white paint, I could live with the black shutters, black windows. I don't, not excited about my windows, replacing my windows with black windows, so. I think it would look better than 696 grid, just because of the scale and the rest of the details of the building. And I think it'd be nice for the one day building to get an update. Yeah. I agree with that.
Me too. I mean, the reason I was asking for a sketch is because I would prefer the 6/6 as well. But I wanted to see what it looked like with 1/1, you know, because that was what we wanted to do.
Well, and ironically, he shows us what they call an inspirational drawing.
That
It shows,
has
yeah, 600
balances,
Yeah.
but it didn't have shut.
No, then it didn't have the shutters. Now, I guess we're gonna keep the shutters and, so. I just,
It was building a sense of detail, but didn't have that. I think it would look a little better. This building is more elaborate with.
yeah, it is.
Columns and all that.
Well, they go all the way across.
Bigger windows.
Yeah.
Also, I think the
Well, with this,
the
the
entry
window
door
on.
that you have, the original entry door had the side lights that had divided, you know,
Yeah.
and I think it would be a mistake
It
to
is.
not have for this particular building. It would be a little too stark.
You mean to have the grid work on the front door as well?
Well, I think now you're showing the front door as just a store, you know, just one pane for the sidewalks. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I'm just saying that the original had the divided lights. And I'm thinking that, you know, I'm thinking that that might be better for original. I don't know if it's different, because I'm wondering with all white and then the simplification, it might be a wonderful minimalist look, or it might be a little too stark. I think it's a little hard to tell unless you see the whole thing. That's drawn in.
What do we want to do? Do you want to have him come back, or do you want to say we can approve it subject to something? Let's say this one along here. Does anybody have a problem with the storefront doors? He's got a very straightforward plan on the glass storefront doors there.
If someone want clarification on the blue, sounds good.
I'm sorry, say again.
When I'm presenting the materials, I thought there was a question about why this is shown as blue. And you all.
No.
I think when we're presenting this to you,
Do we want to know why that shows?
I think that's just to show that those are glass sections. I don't know of any, I don't know that it's even possible to have blue glass like that, but I mean,
Just if you want to know how you feel personally, I feel like I can't make a decision unless I see elevation studies. I can't determine.
I'm willing to give this a shot. I move approval of the bill being painted white until it does being replaced with black leather windows with 6/6 grids installed, black shutters, black entry door.
As presented.
Yes.
No grid, Bob? On the doors.
Yes. What you?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
I guess
I
if,
kind of did too. I think
I guess if you have the divided lights on the windows, it's fine.
And then what do you want to do with shutters? Now, it's going to paint the whole thing white, so we're going to have shutters that are going to go down below the windows, first floor, we're going to have the panels.
I think the panel should be black. The shutters are going all the way down. Can you see that?
Those panels are proposed to stay white. So if
But-
you want them to be black.
I mean, we're not married to the idea if that's what the commission wants, we can do that.
I'm sorry.
We're not married to the idea of those being white. You know, if you wanted it black,
Black. The concept is spilling that over to get the brick.
sure.
It's like, at least from the pictures, it doesn't look like they need repainted. I don't know if that was in your original scope, but
Yeah, it was gonna paint, we were gonna paint it white, which is more really for the path of least resistance, but we're fine painting them black.
Then all the, great boards. All that's why.
Correct.
Okay. So if that is a motion for new business, and is there a second for that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, so that is on the floor now. Motion approved. Motion on the floor. Any other questions or comments?
If you, since now you're going with this 6/6 divided lot, what will the profile be? Will it be matching what you have had what's previously on the margin?
Yeah, it would be, well, they sell it's like a snap-in piece, basically.
Yeah, it's gonna be, you're gonna see less.
Yeah.
Does that work for everybody? Any questions or comments from the audience? Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and ask for a vote on that. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, it's carried on that basis.
Okay,
Does that work for you?
that works.
Okay. thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Just to confirm those conditions.
Yes. Go ahead.
He makes the statement submitted that.
Yes, exactly. So we're going to obviously look for motion. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay. Our next case is COA 25-00282 for 145 North Grant Avenue, which is located along Grant Avenue between Spring and Long. The applicant is seeking commission approval to renovate an existing 13,000 square foot, one-story brick structure to become a restaurant space with a central kitchen and exterior patio. Exterior paint is proposed only on the brick that has already been painted. Existing windows and portions of the exterior brick walls will be removed to increase openings and for installation of new windows and frames. A new entry door along the north facade will allow for a second means of egress at an existing window opening. The existing glass block of the storefront is to be replaced with new glass block. Center windows between the glass block is to be replaced on both sides with new storefront windows for increased visibility into the building. Submitted materials include existing site photos, floor plans, elevations, renderings, and products and material specification sheets. The downtown design guidelines recommend that adaptive reuse of buildings is generally preferred to demolition, and the new construction and new storefront should be as transparent as possible. While the guidelines also note that glass block storefront windows are typically not appropriate, staff notes that this is an update to an existing condition. The proposal is generally consistent with the downtown design guidelines. Here are the materials submitted by our applicant. This is the building we're talking about. Let's see some condition photos here. Here is the full plan. And then here are our exterior elevations. This is the front.
So what is it for?
Just like that.
Yeah.
What does it have?
And then you can see here some of the openings and then where that new door will go, which is an existing window opening right now. Here are renderings from the front. There's a patio space. Here are the material for. And then Adam went out and took some existing condition site photos. Here's the north elevation. So some of these existing openings that are infilled will be opened up. So we will lose chunks of this mural, but with the trade-off being some additional access and transparency to the building. And here's some photos of that existing glass block in the current entrance. And then this is that space that will become patio space. And that was it.
Very good. Would the applicants please come up? Applicants or applicants? Good morning.
Morning.
Could you identify yourselves for the record, please?
Yes. Christina Panofsky with Grad Architects.
Sorry, and can you make sure you're speaking up?
Yes, Christina Panofsky with Grad Architects.
Great, thank you.
Sangeeta Lakhani, Executive Director of Service, which is a relief effort for hospitality workers.
Okay, could you raise your right hands and swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So say I do.
I do.
Thank you very much. Go ahead. Catch us up on your project here, please.
We're very excited about this project. When Sang came to us with the restaurant idea, we thought it was perfect for the space. It is intended to be not just a restaurant, but a source of education for the service industry, and the location could be more perfect. They intend on reaching out to the culinary area of Columbus State, educating people about what it means to be part of the service industry. And it's also a food-starved area, so we are very excited about that. With respect to the glass block, I know that was an issue that we've talked to staff about. We believe it's a precedent. It's already existing in the building. It is of the 1940s era, so we feel it's applicable to the history of the building. We're also
Are you
using,
adding glass block, or you just?
we are, if you look at this elevation right
Yeah.
here. So everything that you see right now is being replaced, well, not like for like, we're replacing glass block that is currently not transparent with
Yeah.
transparent glass block. And then in addition to that, the vertical space between what I call the squares of glass block, essentially storefront. And so the reason for keeping the glass block was three reasons. One, keeping in history with the building. Two, security. We're right up on the street. And the third one is, as the storefront curves towards that front entry, it's really it's an added cost to do a single pane glass that curves.
But you're basically keeping the glass block that is there, right?
We are replacing it.
Well, yeah, good.
Correct.
You put a glass block where there is.
Where there has been.
Correct.
Do you
Yeah,
give
correct.
us any further?
It was built in 1945 and it's had multiple uses. I know it was industrial in nature at one point. There are the structure in there makes it seem like the concrete in the basement makes it seem like there was industrial use at some point.
I think there was a fellow there that did car repair and so on.
That is,
Bob did. For anybody that's been around Columbus for a couple of years.
but most recently it was used for classes for CCAD.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was called Circle Hall, which is
Oh, fun.
great because we call this the full circle service.
And so the brick on there, you're going to paint, right? And you say it is painted now? That doesn't look like it.
The white brick is painted, the black glazed remains.
So in other words, where the brick is not painted, you would not paint.
Correct.
Has been painted, you propose to paint it. Okay.
And it's only allowed to have somebody white painted brick building. Just facade, but white.
Are you having any new windows then on this thing?
We are.
Okay, show us where those.
So they are along the north elevation. So the first two block windows that you see are existing, and then everything to the right of that, that's all new. So those have been
Existing window openings, is that right?
correct. Those are existing window openings that have been infilled, and currently there's a mural added. The muralists are aware of what we're doing and have.
So the glass block windows there, are you taking out the glass block in there?
Those
Clear?
would be clear, correct.
Okay.
We felt the terrain, the grade goes down, so we felt it was high enough. We could do
So where we see that panel of brick there, and that looks like that's not painted.
that's
That's
glazed,
May not painted.
correct,
Okay, but above and below, we see white paint, it looks like, and that would be repainted.
correct.
Okay. And do you have your color for the?
Yep.
Which one on the,
Yes, it's aged white.
oh, so it's not gonna look like your elevation there, where it looked like a taupey color on the front?
Well, it depends on how the sun hits it, right? I think it might be just how our elevation looks,
That's the color.
correct.
I'm just looking at your elevation there, oh, there, right there.
Yeah.
You see where it looks kind of taupey gray? That's not what you're proposing, right?
We were proposing more of that creamy aged white, but if
Okay.
you'd prefer something less, we could take into consideration.
What's the red line? Is that a,
So that carries in with some of the interior design. And so the
line that's on the building though, right?
it is currently the limestone that is starting to fail. And we thought as we repair it, we could carry this line and.
So we're proposing to paint the limestone red.
Correct. The terracotta color.
And you're using fluted aluminum panel, is that at the entry door?
Correct. So here there is a green granite around the door. And so keeping it consistent to that 1940s era theme, that chrome fluted aluminum look was something that was consistent to that time.
If you have the patio area, and I'm wondering if you're introducing the wood. In other words, like, where you have the planters. Wondering if the fluted aluminum, there would be opportunity to add something like that, a planter, just other site element to carry over that 1940s or that Art Deco feel.
Absolutely, we are open to.
This is such an interesting building with the curved glass block and the whole feel that you have. And I just have one other comment here. And it might not be appropriate because you have the same windows on the other side of the building as well, but where you have the new windows in between the glass block, I'm wondering if you thought of maybe just using the chrome color instead of the black, just because it might be more in keeping with the era and look very well in between the lighter and clear. It might just be something to consider, or, it might not look well around the building and maybe like this better, but it was just something
We can study that. Yeah, we can study that.
What are the dark panels in between your, the glass block sections there on the front? What, yeah, right there, exactly.
That is the glazed brick. It's existing glazed.
That's, and that's the part that would not be repainted. Okay. Okay, but what about the metal, or say around the circular roof section over the front door there?
That chrome,
Redone or?
that chrome, it stays and it's going to be repaired as needed.
Okay. Questions, comments? I guess when I look at it, in a way, I hate to paint limestone edges there. I haven't looked at the,
But it makes such a nice accent.
it does make a nice accent. But
And I would note that for whatever reason, the color is not right. It's more of a terracotta than that bright.
Would you consider a color of the white?
Yes, yes, we would.
Okay, where are we, guys? Yeah, I think I like it too.
Yeah. Great. I've always liked that.
Yeah, and I like it that you're, I don't know, it's not maybe an historic reuse, but it's kind of at least sure you're using the old building. You're leaving a lot of the character in the pieces there, and I like it that you're painting what has been painted, not painting what has not been painted. So that's good.
Yeah,
I think it's great, it's a great concept, particularly for workforce development. I know that that's happening in Franklin County right now in Cafe Overlook.
Yeah. That's us.
And I believe that we're part of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So just knowing that you're still within that area, particularly the closeness to Plymouth State. And the opportunity for individuals who are studying to be able to work with you, I think is great for the community.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, and so let's get into just details here, because you're asking for approval today, is that correct?
yes, please. Correct.
So lighting on this, let's go to some of the details. Does that represent what the siding is that you would want where it says the line? And then is that the lighting that you're looking for? Is there lighting in the patio area there?
We do have some lighting. So currently the.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll speak louder. We do have lighting in this, there are currently existing lights on the exterior. Oh, move to another site. So, we have proposed exterior lights, that will be in the patio area as shown on that rendering right there, or the, spec sheet. And we also have some landscape lighting that would go in the planters and around that tree. And then all remaining light would be existing. There are some wall packs that are already on the building that
Okay,
we're keeping.
okay. And then that, where it says the line would be your signage, right?
Correct. That would be a backlit.
Have we left any details out that we need to? For further? Landscaping wise, does the tree get planted? Other than that, you're just using planters, right? So I don't know that we need to improve planters.
If the rural is there now, then it
On the north end, no. That is part of the Blockfort art.
Alley
Alley.
islands, yeah. So they'll be switching the murals out. The artists know that this is happening and they're just going to work around our windows. Yeah, so we want to keep the art there. We want to, of course, support that, so.
Okay, guys, what's the pleasure? I heard a comment about the color of the paint. Apparently no objection. I think we have everything else we need.
To clarify, we would typically need additional detail for signage. This is probably signage that can be staff approved, but we just want to be clear in the motion if you are or are not approving signage.
Well, that, we don't have a motion yet, but that's a direction we could go.
To be clear, there are two forms of signage. There's a signage on the awning, but there's also signage above the door that is considered to be vinyl applied to the transom window. Oh, I'm sorry, it might not be vinyl, it might be
Oh, I see.
tiered.
will the building address be on there?
Yes, I think if you zoom in enough, it might.
Is that a new door there?
That is a new door, yes.
And what material would that be?
It's a storefront door, but it's a storefront system, but it's a chrome color to match the existing.
Okay.
Is there lighting under the canopy?
There's currently existing downlights, so we intend on using new exterior downlights, just replacing.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the group?
If we mentioned the paint color, there was some comment that the colors to lights that is being proposed and that the rendering is better tone. So is that how, is it left where the color will be kept the way you were originally presenting it, or will the color be modified?
So I think that's what is to be determined with the motion. And then whatever anybody wants to do, what do we want to do?
It indicated the buildings.
Right, so what do you think would be a better color?
If the color similar to what's in the rendering, because how we legislate that exactly, but.
Do you want to look at that? If we could approve this, do you want to look at that and come back with another color on that?
Would that be another presentation? Would that be another presentation or a staff approval?
Would you mind doing that? Just come back.
Sure.
So we can look at it. And it would be a very quick session here.
Absolutely.
And I would ask Stella if she might be kind enough to put you towards the front of the agenda if we did that. But would that work for you?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
And so
So can we have a motion then? I think I know what direction I'm going. Somebody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I move approval of the zoning as submitted the condition that they come back with a different color, but it's painted.
And other than that, I think we're saying everything else.
So that would allow them to go. We're not paying one.
We don't need a pink color, Matt, sure.
Right.
Yeah, that's.
Right.
Okay, good. So that's a motion. Is there a second for this?
Second.
Great, we have a motion is on the table. Any other questions or comments? Everybody understand the motion?
Yeah, I just want to make one comment. I agree with Bob. I don't want to go too scarlet and gray here. That would be my only comment.
I don't think you're looking for gray.
They have 1,000 acres.
or a tweed.
Heard. No problem.
Taupe or a tweed. Like your jacket, maybe.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now we're really getting. Any questions from the audience, comments? Okay, there's a motion on the table. Everybody understands the motion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Get here whenever you'll come back and we'll talk about figures. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Very cool. Love that buildings.
It's a cool part of town too. What's this?
Alrighty, now we are switching gears to two conceptual applications. So our first one is COA 25-00249, 61 Oak Street, which is located along Oak Street adjacent to Interstate 71. The applicant is seeking commission feedback on a conceptual application to open 5 existing arches that have been infilled with CMU and to fill them with new curtain wall window fitting the shape of the existing archway. The applicant will also replace the eastmost existing overhead garage door on the building's south elevation. A curtain wall along with a door is to be added to the arch on the building's southeast. Submitted materials include site plan, elevations, floor plans, existing site photos, and spreadsheet specifications. The downtown guidelines state active reuse of existing buildings, which generally refer to demolition and new construction. The guidelines also state that new storefronts, whether created through new construction or renovation and expansion of existing buildings, should be as transparent as possible. The proposal is largely consistent with downtown sign guidelines. So here are the materials submitted by our applicant. This is the front of the building. And here is that archway that will be infilled with storefront and entry door. And then here is the east elevation. Here are floor plans. Here's the building location. Here's some condition photos. You can see these arches that are currently infilled are the ones that they are proposing to open up. And then these would often be infilled with condition photos. This is the one that we'll be getting that front door. And then here are the specifications for that aluminum curtain wall. So we can come back to that if need be, but again, here is that proposed elevation where you can see this, the storefronts in these 5 archways. And then they would remain closed off, but you can see from the photo that those are actually back further. So with that, we can turn it over to our applicant.
Okay, would the applicant please come up?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you identify yourself?
Yes, my name is Joaquin Cervantes. I am the director and owner of Wellstead Architecture.
Could you raise your right hand? You swear to affirm the testimony you're about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And if so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you. Very good. Go ahead and just get this up.
Okay, so the client is out of town, could not be here, but this is an existing business and it remains as the business that it is today, which it's a combination of an auto shop where they work on classic cars and very expensive cars. And some of them are stored on the second floor. This will remain as that. We are providing a private entrance and filling that in. And what this business has always been a club, right? And basically a particular types of cars club where several people will gather on the weekends, maybe 4 or 5 and have a conversation about a certain Porsche, piece that just came in from somewhere and it's taken 9 months to get to. That's kind of what they do, except that they've never had a place to really go to, right? So they kind of do this around the mechanics as they're working and this kind of stuff. And so the new owners of the building are coming in and they're going to provide a place where people can actually sit down and talk and have a conversation of what it is. And where that's being built, which is on the second level, it was once Ford's offices, when that building was once occupied by Ford. I mean, that building has had a beautiful history of many things. And that's the gist of the project. So it's very simple, it's private, and it's not, that there is no new sign, there is no new lighting being proposed, other than interior lighting. And that's where it is. Now, in the 26-27 year, I believe that the client will come back in front of you with a much larger renovation package, which will include the replacement of all the windows and really, really good stuff, my apologies. For, you know, what is a significant building. I mean, regardless of how anybody feels about it, clearly, when you look at it and you go inside that second hall, if anybody's ever been there, with the existing ramp of how you get up there, it's a fantastic building.
Okay, yeah, so I'm getting a little confused here about what you're going to leave the same and what you're going to change then. On the second floor, the block-in window openings.
Those two
Block
windows,
those out.
two windows come out, two of the windows, just two of them. Right, so then they get replaced.
And that gets a storefront system.
Yes, it does.
And what color is the?
It'll be white.
Frames?
It'll be
White frames.
white frames.
So you're trying to kind of match what's on the front of it.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be, obviously, we're not trying to match, and it'll be the last thing that we would want to do, in my opinion, is to try to be historical about it, but so sort of come in with something that looks contemporary of the day, but at the same time complements what's there.
So basically, that's what you're asking us to prove today. And where we see the painted, washed off paint, that stays.
That stays as it is. The building remains as is right now.
Put the entrance door in the front and the front arch there on
Correct.
the east side.
Correct.
And that's it, basically, right?
That's it. That's,
Also a garage door too.
Right.
yeah, so then, right now, there's a glass garage door. It's not properly represented here, you know, this is Revit, and so you work for Revit. Revit doesn't work for you. So my apologies about that, but that's true. And that door, we're gonna match that door where the white door's at.
So there'll be two.
Two identical doors. Yes, glass door.
Windows.
Yes, correct.
Questions, comments, or everybody get it? Everybody understands?
Recently, saw a picture, a historic picture of this building, and that gable, apparently it was the ground.
Yes,
Oh,
yes. For the longest time, when I was doing drawings and we're doing sections of this thing, where we couldn't figure out why the brick was different.
Yeah.
And then we came across the pictures that revealed that, there you go.
okay.
So this is a conceptual review.
Oh, it is?
So what does that mean? I'm sorry.
That we give you.
It's not approved.
It's not a final approval today.
So what would my next steps could be?
You already move it for action if you feel like you have everything.
Were you intending that we would?
Oh, yeah, I'm trying to submit the drawings to the city on Friday. So like, we're just waiting on this. I mean, the project is ready to go.
Okay,
And does the submittal like for?
No, they've given us what they're gonna spec, but we don't have it.
but it's standards,
Yeah, it's a standard 2-inch wide, it's pine paint, which is what comes with that, and it's white and
okay, and I see two arches and that, what about the one on the right-hand side? What happens to that?
so that one is part of the larger plan. So there's this whole series of windows down the side there.
So, but you're not asking.
We're not asking to move those.
What do you do? Leave it up?
That one just remains as is. It's blocked in.
No, look at the picture. Can you go back to the picture? There we go. The one to the right.
Oh, no, all three on the bottom are all glassed in. Oh, the arches on the bottom are all glassed in, and then only the two.
Two on the top. I see.
This fourth one is already inside. Yeah, so it's kind of misleading.
I see it.
My apologies.
Good. Everybody understand what the request is? Thoughts of anybody's part?
I'd make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Any comments here, if there anything that needs to be staff approved to finish this up, or no? I think it's fine. Okay.
All this, I mean, is there a second? Bob's a second? Second.
Yeah.
Okay, questions?
I have one question. On the original, the window is set, the glass of the window frame is set back a little bit from the arch. And I'm wondering how you are thinking of setting these windows now that are in the arches that are being.
It's same. We'll set it back, because, I mean, what we suspect is at the moment we remove the block, we will find that the sill is there as it was once before. And we'll use that concept to set the windows in the same locations that they were, so that it casts the same sort of shadow and, right. So we're not trying to pop them out or anything like that. It's not.
Okay, any other questions?
Can you clarify we're doing this as final approval?
Yes, absolutely.
Questions or comments from the audience? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, fantastic. Thank you so much, guys.
Have a great rest of the day.
Yeah, invitation to that, wow.
Use for this one, but I'm just, something like that.
Okay. So we have an understanding. Is this? I know.
It's not.
That's it. Yeah. Yes.
All right. Our last case on the agenda, also a conceptual review, COA 25-00283 for 397 West Broad Street. It is the site of the former spaghetti warehouse on the south side of West Broad Street between the railroad tracks and north of West State. The applicant is requesting conceptual review on a new development that consists of 2 new 7-story buildings. There's a building in West Broad Street, which is 5 stories of residential, approximately 120 units. It also includes amenity and potential retail commercial space along the West Broad Street frontage. There's a winter garden amenity deck with an amenity lounge, and then 2 stories of podium parking with approximately 136 parking spaces. The second building will front State Street. It will also be 5 stories of residential, approximately 126 units. There will be amenity and potential retail and commercial space along the West State Street frontage. This building will have a summer garden amenity deck that will contain a pool. And then 2 stories of permanent parking with approximately 141 parking spaces. There will also be a pedestrian plaza along the east side of the site between the 2 buildings. At this time, no variances have been identified. The submission includes historical timeline and context, project overview, contextual imagery, inspirational imagery, site plan, floor plans, sections, elevations, and renderings. The downtown design guidelines recommend that new construction along West Broad Street be a minimum of 5 stories in height with 0 setback, utilize high-quality materials, and include a high degree of transparency on the ground floor. Further, the guidelines recommend that the design of new construction be compatible with the neighboring streetscape and be influenced by nearby contributing buildings. The guidelines also recommend that parking garages be designed to minimize their monotony through massive openings and variation in materials. Finally, the downtown design guidelines encourage the integration of art into larger projects and the inclusion of plazas and courtyards. The proposal is consistent with these recommendations. Staff notes that additional information is needed for the loading and site service, lighting, landscaping, outdoor dining, and rooftop structures and uses before a determination can be made on consistency design guideline recommendations. The proposal as presented is generally consistent with the downtown design guidelines. We'll walk through our materials here from our applicant. They're calling this project the Macklin. We have the timeline of the site. We have Sanborn maps, 1901, 1922. This image shows the building locations from the Sanborn maps in 1891, 1901, 1922, and then the red outlines show the proposed building locations. This is just some site context. You see Franklinton here, the map is tilted, and you have the peninsula here, and then downtown, the Union District, and then you see the 2 rail lines on either side of the site. And there's additional context of the developments over on the peninsula and then what is happening in Franklinton. Here is the project overview that we can let our applicant walk us through. Some images around the neighborhood. Inspirational images. And then here is the proposed building concept. Where they're showing two L-shaped buildings. This is Broad Street. And how those relate to Franklinton and downtown. So then here is the site plan. Again, here is Broad Street. So the Broad Street building and the State Street building, and then this plaza space along the east elevation, and then there's the space in between the two buildings. This is the Broad Street building floor plan. You can see that parking, and then here's that potential commercial space. That second level of the podium parking, and then we get into the units, and here's that amenity deck on the Broad Street building. And then these elevations are pretty consistent with residential through that 7th floor. Then the State Street building is pretty similar. You can see that parking, the potential commercial retail space here fronting State Street, that second level of parking. Here's that summer deck with the pool, and then same thing, you get residential up through the 7th story. And then here is a section showing the parking residential, and then how that relates to the rail on either side. And then we get into the renderings, showing some of the different materiality proposed. This is the Broad Street building. And then here's the State Street building, facing State Street. And here are the north and south elevations of those buildings. And then here's a rendering from Broad Street. Street level. Here's State Street. And then this is just showing that the space that we goes between the buildings and back to the east. We can see summer amenity space, winter amenity space. And then here is just their project statistics breaking out the types of units, quantity of units, parking, etc. And with that, we turn it over to our applicant.
Could the applicants please come forward? Not necessarily all of you, but. I'm just kidding, Al, everybody that wants to.
Just swear us all in.
Okay, I'm gonna go down the list. Would you identify yourselves for the record, please? Anybody who's gonna testify.
Pat Kelly with Falco Smith and Kelly.
Thanks.
Doug Pack with Spaghetti Warehouse Field and Ventures.
Susan Gregory with Moody Nolan.
John Williams off of Moody Nolan.
Very good. Those chairs up here, if you need it, and just so we can hear everybody, feel free to use that microphone if you would. Would you raise your right hands? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Well, this is exciting to see this project. Who's going to lead the charge here?
Well, I'm just going to make a brief introduction. There's been a lot of interest in this development, but our interest is really with the Kelly Weiler family. We go back almost 50 years, designing, building, owning, and managing apartment communities throughout Central Ohio. So we're delighted to be involved in this project, and especially having Doug Pack, who's an out-of-town restaurateur. He's the owner of the Spaghetti Warehouse, and his interest in joining with us to do something very special on this site. So we're delighted to be here. And I might just say, if I could digress just for a minute, this young man behind me is 90 years old today, Bob Weiler. And so he's an amazing guy, and he's I call him the Energizer Bunny, but he's it's great to have Bob here on his 90th birthday.
Happy birthday.
And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Doug Pack. I just want to add one final comment. So we obviously want this to be special. So we've worked with the Moody Nolan team for over a year in different iterations of this building. And we're very pleased with the work they've done, and they're going to walk you through all of it. So we're happy to answer any questions. So thank you.
It's nice to be back here. Since last time we met, And also just want to let you know, again, I'm from Orange County, Southern California. Now American Airlines is trying to fly direct to Columbus from LA. So I just want to let you know, I was excited to be here last night, flying only 4 hours instead of taking 7 hours to get here. Very excited about Columbus, very excited about the airport expansion of Columbus as well. As you know, I am from out of town, but this project is not some out-of-town developer not caring about the project or the history, as you know. A very unique situation where the ownership is actually split 3 ways between the Kelly family, Weiler family, and my family, the Pack family. So 3 families coming together. So it is a locally owned project, is where the ownership is split 3 ways. But I do also consider myself as a local here because I own a business here as well. Wanted to give you a couple of updates since we met last time. First of all, we did provide Sanborn map as we promised, number 1. Second, we did our demo. Thank you for the commission approval for the demo. It was an emotional day in terms of demoing this building. And so the demo has been completed. Also, we spent a lot of time, as we talked about in the last hearing, there was a representative from the Historical Society. They came and voiced a concern. And I think with the assumption that we didn't care about the history, but in fact, we did deeply care about the history of this site, even before Spaghetti Warehouse opened in 1978. So we did spend a lot of time with the Historical Society, our architect, our branding agency, to really go through the process of digging deeper into the legacy and the future of what this project might be. And lastly, we did, just so you know, also, just given the market, challenging market conditions and, rising construction costs and everything else, the project that you'll see here, it is much smaller than we first imagined. It is sort of the reality of the market conditions out there. So I think we did the best we can with a smaller scope, smaller project to give it the best project that we could do. So those are some of the updates I want to give to you, and then we'll really look forward to the Moody Nolan giving you all the details about the project, even the name. In fact, the name, the reason we came up with the name, that was part of the process of digging through the history of this site. There was a hotel called the Macklin Hotel. It was there for a short period of time that sat in front of the ice factory. So it was through that process of digging through the history that gave us an inspiration to call this the Macklin. And so I'll hand it over to Moody Nolan.
I'm not sure which slide we're at there yet. Stop there just for a minute. I just want to continue on a little bit about what Doug was laying out. So we've tried to be very faithful to, over the last year or two, getting to really know this site well. We tried to honor basically 3 different eras or 3 different kind of overlays of this site. The Macklin, as Doug had pointed out, was up tight to Broad Street. So as we moved the buildings tight to Broad Street, tight to State, we thought it was appropriate to kind of honor that, especially since it's a residential building. The Macklin has some, sort of residential history to it. So that was a thing, kind of coming up tight to Broad Street and being a little more urban. And then, of course, the Crystal Ice Factory we've talked about a lot. We did meet with the foundations, the Landmark Foundations Committee. They came to our office and we sat down with them and they gave us a lot of input. So we did have a really good session with them, and I think they left feeling pretty comfortable that we were listening and incorporating a lot of these things. So the Crystal Ice Factory, you're going to see some iconography of that as we go through the different renderings. And of course, the Spaghetti Warehouse, the materiality is not matched 1-to-1, but we picked up on the window, typologies and the brick colors and a lot of the different things we try to incorporate to honor that. Let's go to the next slide. Of course, we talked about the Sanborn maps. You can see all the buildings that were there and how they've changed over time. Keep going. Another overlay where you can see the footprints of our building, again, how they're moving tight to the streets, at least the public facades. You can see where the site sits. Everybody's familiar with that. Connections to all the neighborhoods around, how it sits between the 2 rail lines. the rich history of the team that Doug laid out for you already, and of course, the Arts District, the kind of combination of Arts District with industrial area and some of the history of the peninsula. Buildings, newer buildings coming online that are around us, and of course, a lot of the arts districts and some of the character of the site. We'll go back a couple slides real quick. I just want to hit on this again. So this idea that we kind of transform this idea of crystals into sort of a geocrystal, the idea that we kind of have this brick outside. You're going to see we pulled the building apart to kind of create an interior that's a little more industrial and metal-like, to have a subtle nod to the idea of crystals. Let's move on again. So if we took like if you kind of filled the whole block with as big a building as you could, we move ahead. The idea, we split it to kind of create, like you heard, this winter and the summer winter garden idea, the one facing west, the one facing east, to pick up more sun. So the outside's wrapped with brick, and then it exposes a sort of industrial inside that's both metal, industrial, but also kind of has this crystalline undulating facade to it. And that peeks out and reveals itself on the Broad Street and State Street side at certain points. There's a portal we have on Broad Street there to sort of invite the eye into the development. The plan's pretty simple. The amenity spaces there, the lobbies and the amenity spaces for the residents activate the streets and are tight to the street, with parking behind on the first and second floor. We go up. I won't spend too much time on the planning, but both buildings are more or less identical. We have a fire lane that's to the east, which is up top there, that we bollarded off after you get entrance to the garage, so it becomes more pedestrian and is unobstructed by cars. And we're doing our best in there to make it a nice plaza space. Going up to the top, now you can see the residential units and how they lay out, with the balconies having more space for the units facing the courtyards. Let's keep moving. And then if they stack all the way up. And then State Street, pretty much a flipped building, flipped and opposite hand, to create the other side of the courtyard there with the pool. Of course, the section, you can see the amenity deck and the residential pretty much starts at the top of the railroad. So the parking's kind of tucked below, and the residential plaza, and then everything gets more sunlit and has better views when you get above the tracks. And then trying to honor the red brick that was there. We've incorporated, a lot of our design teams incorporated a lot of brick detailing and corbelling and varieties in the brick to help activate it, make it feel a little more detailed, a little more oriented, a little more nods to history, not exactly mimicking exact details that were on the building. Let's see, and then we've got the metal balconies that are outboard that kind of mimic some of the ideas about fire escapes and some of the things you'd see in more urban settings. And then storefront facing the street with very active, lively lighting that spills out into the street. Continue on. So the inside elevation, you can see the metal panels and the balconies and how they're perforated and allow a lot of activity and views into the courtyard. That would be some metal panel, of course. And then things we're still working on the exact detailing of it, but some of the larger blanker facades that don't have fenestration, putting either art or green walls and things like that, again, to activate the space and make it feel more residential and fun and exciting. The portal to Broad Street there, you can kind of see back to one of our amenity spaces and a couple special units on the corner to give a little more drama to the Broad Street facade. Another view of that. And this one, State Street, we've added some color and some surrounds to the storefront here, trying to do a glazed brick or something, again, a little more kind of industrial and custom. And then in the plaza, we're trying to figure out whether or not we're allowed to go up against the railway wall. So that's something we're working on. We may have to pull that off a little bit depending on what kind of rights we have to that right away.
Is that wall there? I forget.
It's there, but Yeah, but the graphics are not there.
Right.
It's just a kind of brick that's sort of semi-deteriorated in some places.
And is that on your property or their?
It's their property.
It's their property, so it may be that we'll have to come off that a little bit. The team has engaged a branding company that's helping to coalesce all this history into sort of an experience where you can walk down here and it's meant to be sort of a historical timeline of the site, and it's TBD, it's kind of in the works still, so we don't have it exactly worked out. But if we have to, we'll pull that off the wall, onto our property and kind of have not a dummy wall, but like a, kind of a landscape wall that'll have, various graphics, seating walls and things like that.
So is this where the drive access to the garages would be, where you're showing people walking?
It is, but it's to the far side down, the people are further down, there's bollards there because the turn-ins to the garage are closer to the streets.
On both sides?
On both sides. We do have to pull it back in one area because there is a
I see.
a pass-through, a vehicular pass-through right there under the train track that we have to keep access. Well, we're trying to be friendly to the business next door. They park under the railroad line is hollow, or it's a bridge essentially from that line over. And people that are from the that's our building we renovated. Who's in there? The Volunteers of America, the fire.
With the firehouse.
Firehouse, yeah.
Use that parking under.
Yeah, the firehouse uses that parking, so we're trying to give them a way out. So yeah, there we go. So the drive there, the far end where you see the do not enter, that we were going to bollard that off. So from the stone over to the right will be all pedestrian, no cars. And it will be, yes, you go to the red line on the left hand, right there, yeah. Right there, it'll be get bollarded down to our building so cars can get to that point. And then it'll be pedestrian all the way over to the right, to the next turn in off of State, next turn into our garage, right
Those
there.
little dots we're showing.
Yeah, little dots, you can see in those, the bollards.
Like retractable bollards so that, because it's a fire lane, so in case of emergency, they can.
Yeah, they can pull the bollards so fire trucks can get in there. And that's the reason we split into two buildings too, because we had to fire access in the middle, turn around to get get the coverage for the fire trucks. But so, go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, Jim.
No, it's okay.
Is it all the full length, like from Lawn to State? With the openings that you mentioned, but is it in the next 22 feet high? Is that wall continuous?
Yeah, yeah. It breaks a little, like it steps back and forth a few feet here and there, but it's.
It will be the whole length of your,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Other side. So close to the elevated room.
I'll let you. We've run through the code on it. We think we're good, but
The civil engineers reached out to the railroad company. They're not super communicative, but we're working with them on making sure that we are far enough away. But yeah, so yeah, there's a chance that they'll tell us we need to, come a little and tighten up that. We've got some wiggle room on that fire lane, for that. So, we might have to scoot it a little bit, but we're currently showing 5 feet off of it, so. And our structural engineer is looking into, what's going on with their foundation, if we're gonna run into that and that kind of thing.
So on that west side, where you have, the elevated rail on the west side, is that just that open? Everybody's having trading from the building to where the elevated rail is that just going to be left as is?
The 5 foot?
Yes.
Yeah, the idea is to fence it off on either end so that people, it doesn't create like a weird little alley that people can do various things in. So the idea is that we, make it a nice little area. There is one little dip in the rail line on that side that connects from the fire lane that goes back that, again, if we can get a nice relationship with the rail line, that they'd be willing to let us do like a little pocket park in there, that could be a nice moment. But otherwise, we would kind of fence it off in the sliver, the sliver in between so that people can kind of walk back in there.
Can we interrupt? Sorry, go ahead.
I remember where I was.
Or at the end, I was gonna.
Yeah, I think.
Crystal. If you.
Oh, yeah. So I think we have one more slide. So yeah, you're seeing up to the garden up there. So this is kind of nice terracing of blurring of public and private space, so anybody can go on the plaza, but the top is for residents only, but I think it's a nice layering of having activity and people. I think it's always nice to see, even though there's areas that are dedicated and you can't get to, it feels more active.
And it shows a sidewalk along there. Does that sidewalk go the entire length of the buildings then, even in the sections where the cars can drive?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. And we've got to detail the paving and yeah, there may be a little bit of, we're not sure yet.
Looks like a curve.
It would be
Yeah, I think it'll be seamless. I think we're gonna try and make it ADA friendly and try and make it all
Okay.
smooth.
Again, since it's a fire lane, we want to make.
Any others? So do you want to keep going on your discussion here?
Yeah, just got a couple more. This is,
Yeah.
I know this is, maybe not of extreme interest, but the pool deck, facing east and south, so, trying to activate that space. We definitely know we're gonna have a pool. And on this one, we just wanted to say we're gonna have an amenity. This is for residents only, but this kind of ice house, a glass box that would sit on top of the winter deck that would, be some kind of to be determined amenity, maybe a club room or a club room with a bar or something like that. But the idea again is to honor that there's this sort of another subtle nod to the history.
Do you have one pool for both buildings?
Yeah, so the residents from the north would have to go to the south building, and we've explored having a open bridge between them and decided against that for various reasons. We also had a conditioned bridge at one point. I think it's mostly for the fire trucks. We were running into issues with discussions with them.
I just wanted to add about the crystal moment that the intention for it is to be, all of the red that you were seeing on the plans is meant to be resident amenity, not necessarily retail. The crystal is supposed to be resident amenity that can be kind of like, we took inspiration from the view on Grant where they have, it's a resident lounge and then they have Stoffs in there. But if Stoffs is not there or whatever isn't there, it can, it stays open. It doesn't become a vacant space. It's still resident amenity lounge. So just the idea that it could be themed to, again, pay homage to the Crystal Ice House and have some kind of fun features in there to ice or, like an ice luge and bar and those kinds of things could be fun. So.
Okay, wonderful. And this is conceptual. So we're, any thoughts, comments?
It's great, things like that.
Great design.
Yeah.
One of the best ones I've seen.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Plus, I love all the brick. I mean, I just think it'll be an impressive, good feeling building. It seems interesting, nice. I like it.
That's good to hear. Thank you.
So there is affordability in this,
Yes.
and what is that? What percentage is it?
Well, I'll defer to ownership. We're working on it. It's TBD. We're not sure exactly if there's more finances to be worked out. I'll let Pat answer that one.
Because that was probably one of the reasons why it's for the demo.
Yeah.
Because of the affordability component.
Yeah, so our market research has indicated that these units typically will be on the smaller side, so studio, 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms. We have a very strong interest in the affordability factor. We recognize the need is tremendous in Central Ohio. And our goal is to do as much affordability as we can, above and beyond what's typically required. That hinges on the feasibility. So once we address this step, we will really get involved in the feasibility of the project and determine exactly how many units will be affordable, how many will be market rate. So we're excited to get to that next step.
So will you be receiving any incentives or any bonds from the city?
We hope so. It's
I guess my issue is, that's how it was introduced. And now I'm hearing that you're exploring it. And so that's why I'm a little confused right now.
Well, I apologize for the confusion. I mean, I can tell you that my father, Don Kelly, and Bob Weiler are very active in Central Ohio in affordable units. In fact, they've just been involved in a charitable endeavor that has almost 1,000 units. So we have a strong desire to carry on that interest and legacy to do as much affordability here as is practically possible. That's our intent as the ownership entity.
But yeah, to be very clear, we're not saying we may not have affordable housing. Affordable housing is a critical component of this. It is a requirement. It's just that, is it going to be 25% or is it going to be 40%? Is it 30%? That's what we're trying to decide. How much of it is going to be affordable housing?
That's all you meant to say.
Yeah, correct. Yes. Yeah, we will have affordable housing.
Okay, thank you.
He's a lot quicker than I am.
So wondering like this, you adjusted, you do have a nice spread. It looks like you have some studios and, but more one bedrooms and two bedrooms. And I don't know, like if, as you're working on it, maybe you would put a little more studios in there if you felt like you're trying to get that down for people. That mix, depending on how it develops and what country you can.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we've engaged a property management company that will oversee this, and they've indicated what they felt is desirable, but we have a strong desire to, just as you said, we think the need will be there for the smaller units in the studios, but it also does bring the affordability factor, no doubt.
I had a comment about the plaza area that you're creating, on the east side where you have the interactive history wall. I think it's a wonderful concept, so much potential. And, on the other side where the building is, because you have the garage, there isn't much opportunity to activate that wall or, to have any cafe or any opening or any transparency. So I'm wondering if maybe on that wall, there might be opportunities for public art or more of the concepts of the history display that, might be dimensional so that both sides of that plaza become activated and enlivened. Because, right now you're dealing with the fact that you're, basically it's the wall of the garage.
Oh, no, I think they're shy. They're.
Oh, yes, I'm just saying on the side where you have the military.
Oh.
Because that, there, I'm just talking about the whole length of
The garage side too.
just that maybe on the walls or something, if there's public art opportunity that could be wall mounted or something, so that, when you have the one side that's very nice, but maybe you have some site amenities or something on the other side, just the way to enhance that as well.
It's like there's a lot of variety in there.
I like that, side on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
And I like the lighting and the panels and all that kind of thing, so.
And on the side, I was just gonna, on the side, we're also doing some of the, and maybe it's not, pushing back enough to get all of that, but that's what we're doing a little bit of homages to the Spaghetti Warehouse, having some of the arches, having some of the, you're seeing some of the infills of that. So that is, well, it's maybe a little more subtle. We are trying to, nod to that as well.
Whatever you want to handle, but just said that.
Yep.
So an interesting side too, and maybe there's an opportunity for art or something.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely want that, so we don't, it's a garage, so we don't want it to feel dead and cold for sure, so in seeing screening, of course, there's a certain onus to keep it a certain open percentage for the cars, so we don't have to have ventilation and all that, mechanical ventilation. But having said that, we've been playing around with making sure that that feels fun and has something to look at, and yeah.
Speed gas and plantings, I see trees on there, maybe I'm seeing vines on the walls or something. And I think the green thing, so it doesn't feel like a concrete corridor, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Would be a good thing.
Yep.
And maybe even if you throw a little bit of, it looks like papers or some handsome material on the ground. So I think that's good. And I think it could be pretty rich right there. So, and by the way, it's not that big a space, really, so.
Right.
Yeah.
We're trying to maximize your.
Saying
Space between the two buildings.
The same, I can't talk, sorry, similar idea. Yep, it just continues on in there. And then, like I said, if we can, utilize that little pocket moment at the end, that could be kind of nice.
Good. And I noticed that it looks like you're kind of right on the street, both on State Street and Broad Street, right? Okay, that's good.
That's great.
Questions here?
Yeah,
Anybody?
I have to speak out in a minute, but I just want to say I appreciate the commitment to materiality. We did, demolish the building, that was important, and to replace it with something that's nice, I think is great. one of the things that I appreciate in the renderings, the 3D renderings, is the relief and the depth of the brick and the detailing and the expression of shadow and dimension. So I personally love big, simple square buildings like this, but they sink or swim based on shadow lines and brickwork and depth and so on and so forth. And it looks like you've really committed to that. So I think if, this is what we see in the next few steps, I'll be super supportive. I love the proportion and the height of the first floor. I recognize that's not going to be soft good retail and fashion and whatnot. It's going to be program and amenities. I think that's fantastic and totally appropriate. So I just wanted to give support for those few components. I think it's a great project and an amazing step forward.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, this is successful. Any other thoughts?
I have one question.
Okay.
On the interior sides, where you have the metal panel, it looks like when you have the balconies, it looks like, and it's very interesting that you're either painting that wall a color or using brick, or doing something that's contrasting in those recesses. I think that's a very nice direction. Because it adds variety of depth.
Yep,
So
that was the idea. Perfect. Thank you for picking up on that.
Okay. Go ahead.
And then the other thing is the pool, I know is on the south building. And do you feel that there's enough, it's kind of hard to tell because, both have challenges with the shapes of the building, but do you feel you're getting enough sunlight there, that out of the two, that would be the better way to go?
One main reason for the gravity building that's on our west, if we put it with the other building, you'd kind of have our building and that building creating a nice little shaded pocket, which is why it's a nice for the winter side.
Okay.
So, but yes, we figured having it on the east side where, for most of the day, especially in the morning when people like to go out to a pool.
Sorry, we have that screen in front.
Oh, you're fine. A little heavy. There we go.
She's the best looking one of all of us there.
Why I had a pen there, we're talking about that. Other comments, questions? I was gonna ask for comments from the audience, but I can see which direction the audience out there likes it. So I'm not even gonna ask for that.
They're the toughest critics.
I think it looks great. Any other thoughts, comments? I think you've heard what we had to say. Obviously, this doesn't mean we're approving it, but you hear the direction we're all going, and I think it's positive.
Board, you set it back.
Yeah, we sure will.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Say that, on that elevation, when I was talking before about where you have the plaza and the building east wall, if you've already, developed details there, that might, be enough.
Sure.
But I'm just thinking, if, as you explore it, if there's some opportunities, you might bring that too, or art or something that carries over those historic past.
Yep.
Yeah,
we're
just,
definitely-
just so you know, art will be very visible in the entire space, outside as well as inside. The corridors, within the rooms, in the leasing office, we're gonna have art. It's gonna be the major focus of the entire project. In fact, the restaurant I opened in Orange County last year, we have a 30-foot LED screen inside the restaurant, and it's all about displaying digital 3D art. And so there's gonna be a lot of exciting stuff that we're gonna put in, and that's the next step. So, thank you.
So much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, everybody.
Okay, we have a couple more items to do. If we get a motion to approve that's the last. So for staff approved applications, you've seen the list. You can have a motion to approve this. And so move. Jay, you have a second? Okay.
What is the Franklin County West facility? I understand. There could be a problem with this. Yeah.
Exterior doors, storefront type doors, pretty like function. placement of existing door at the High Street, entry lobby, valley lobby, and Wall Street lobby with new storefront.
Okay,
Thank you.
other questions? Okay, with all this, in favor of approval of the staff, say aye.
Aye.
This opposed? Okay, Stephanie, we've approved this for you, and then, anything else, old business, new business?
Only that Stephanie had said that next month, no business coming back, so. thank
Oh, is
you
that
very
right?
much, Stephanie. I think it's been wonderful.
What would you do, Steph?
So I staffed the right here for the customers, so I'm
Yeah.
going back to only staffing the right here.
Okay.
So.
Okay, great, well, thank you, yeah.
Thank you.
That's worked out pretty well for you, Andrew. I don't think we've had any issues.
No, it's been enjoyable. I like seeing all the projects going on downtown and seeing the expertise of
Yeah.
the groups.
Okay, good. And Adam, you're hanging around, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I was afraid you were gonna retire.
For all these staff approvals, it's not, there's like 20 of them.
He's doing the people's business.
Yeah.
Good. Any other questions, Tom? Anybody? Thank you, everybody. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you all.